Hi folks, Friction RC here. Firstly, I would like to say apologies for anyone who tried tuning in yesterday evening for my live stream. It failed miserably. I set up the system, did a test, it all worked fine, set a reminder, sent out the links, everything was fine, saw people logging on in advance, that was fine. When it came time to go live, couldn't access it. I could see people commenting, but I couldn't actually log on. Some people are saying they got a black screen and stuff, but they could hear stuff. So I just sincere apologies. I have going to have to go back to the drawing board because I would like to at least go live once, as it were, on Facebook, on YouTube. But in the meantime, I was going to talk through some of the stuff that I've got going on. But instead of that, I thought I will. Well, this is a purchase I did a while ago. It's a couple of months back now, just before Christmas I got this. It was a Tamiya catalogue. Actually, there's a kind of Japanese shop. It's owned by, I guess, English folks, but it's got all this kind of Japanese stuff in it, like proper. I'm not talking like super drive clothes, but just standard Japanese style clothing that you'd get on the streets in Japan, as well as stuff like this Tamiya, comic books, wristwatch designs, all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool, but really expensive. Heart of London, but I saw this and I thought I've got to have one. It's cost about 40 quid. It's not exactly cheap for what it is, but it is for the enthusiast and people who are even have a passing interest in this sort of stuff. It's worth at least getting one. I got one for the year of my birth, so it's covered in this, which is cool. The next thing is these your stickers. I know quite a few of you have requested me to send. I do have some. I've sent some to RC Boise already. Problem is, I know a lot of you guys have actually proper decent stickers, whereas mine isn't. Now, they look all right, but you can see the lines because I'm just doing a standard home printer. And from what I've seen, especially on the one that I gave RC Boise, it fades really quickly. And I really feel bad that I gave him something that I think I could have done a lot better with, especially when I see what other people have been creating and sending out. So I know a few people are waiting on me to send some of these out. That's the reason I'm not sending them out, because I can't afford to send you guys shit quality stuff. Sorry, poor quality stuff. RC Boys, I sent him not knowing it was going to look that bad, but when I see it now, when it's a bit faded and how it is compared to everyone else's, I can't do that. So I'm going to send him some new logos when I get those done up. I've got a friend of mine, a relative who owns a printing company. He does a lot of printing, so stuff like this, little things like this, as well as mugs to proper signage and display boards and pull-up displays and all sorts of stuff. You name it, he can do it. So I'm going to speak to him about getting me some proper stuff done up. Once I get those done up, I will, of course, send you. So please don't think I'm trying to blank anyone. So those are the stickers from my side. Now, what have I got? So, in terms of RC, I have some, what are they called? They're not GTR shocks. These are those, what are they? The big Traxxas shocks, whatever they're called. The big ones, big bore shocks or whatever they're called. So I've got a set of these. Now, the reason behind that is, if I slide you across to this little beaut, obviously some of you may recognize this shell. It's the Traxxas Slasher that I painted up myself. It was just me having a bit of fun. It wasn't anything serious, as you can see. The paint isn't the best. It was purely to be used as a basher shell. I've got some stickers that I've already stuck all over it, stickers that I had from some sticker packs and all that kind of stuff, nothing major. Because my standard Traxxas body cell is quite, if I do this, is quite poor in places and it's cracked. So I thought I'll get this and use this. Now, I've already used this once when I was in Sri Lanka. But going back to the actual reason for those big ball shocks is these things. There's my Traxxas Slash. It's the one that got me started in the hobby. Well, restarted. As you can see, I've got 1/10 mil shocks at the front. I actually had the same in the back as well, but I replaced these with these ones before I went on holiday, mainly because the back was dragging so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those ones on here. But before I do that, as you can see, if I take this round here, you'll get a better idea. It is properly rusted up in places. Now the reason, can you see all this? The reason behind this is when I went to Sri Lanka and ran it, obviously being very humid, dusty, sandy, and the fact that I took it to the beach, I just rinsed it out in the water there. What I didn't do was I didn't properly, although I did dry it down a bit, I didn't dry it down enough. So as you can see, it's proper rusted here and there. So what I'm going to have to do is take it all out, give it a good clean up, and rebuild it. Now, I've never rebuilt this since I've owned it. And when I do rebuild it, these shocks are going to be going in place. So what I'm going to do is do this in stages. Now, this is going to take a long time for me because obviously the only time I get to work on this sort of stuff is over the weekends if I'm not busy. So it's going to be done in stages. So I'm going to take out the front end first. Well, I'll take out the electronics, the gears, but I'm going to do the front end first. Put that to clean it all up, rebuild that bit, then remove the rear end. Once that's taken off and that's been cleaned up and dried, I will give the chassis a good clean out, check everything. These things all seem to work in the motor, but give that chassis, and then once that's all dried up as well, fix that and the front end. Then I'll get what started on the rear end. Now the problem is, now with the rear end, I generally don't like messing about with the tranny too much. I've done the spur and pinion gear, but I need to really, I think, have a look at this. I'm going to see what I feel like. I might just take everything else off and clean that and leave this as it is, because it seems to be working fine. I tested it when I got back. I just put power through it and ran it, and it seemed to work perfectly. So I might leave it as it is and just continue running it instead of rebuilding it. But definitely everything else is going to, so it can be a 3-stage process. Stage 1, take the front end off, clean it up, rebuild it. Stage 2, remove the rear end and clean the chassis up, you know, check all this stuff, or take these all out and then give the chassis a bit of a clean up. It's just to wash it, really, to be fair. Stage 3 is to, you know, stage 1, stage 2, yeah, stage 3, stage 4, I guess, is to put these two back together, pull this apart, give this a clean up and rebuild that. So it's not going to be done in one go, but at some point, if I start from now, hopefully within the next, say 4 weeks or 3 weeks, I can get it all put back together again. So that's going to be starting today. So if I put that to one side and